I cut the tail off of one of my, like a rubber whale toy that my brother, turned out to have a lot of affection for. I remember that. But I think it's because, and I think I was just a kid. I was so young that I was just like playing with scissors and I didn't understand permanence or anything.
Right.
I just like cut this rubber thing and but I remember my brother like revealing how valuable that rubber whale was. And I remember thinking like, fuck you. A rubber whale, that's like your thing. Like this is your thing. Spider-Man's your thing, motherfucker.
I know because I cut his head off.
But it had to be hard to have a little brother. Like, I'm sure it's not easy. But like siblings don't have to fight and stuff. Like Cody's sister, she's got 2 kids and like, I've been listening to these books about optimism and happiness and how like, cause like, my therapist told me, okay, so you're happy now. Maybe are you going to drink yourself to death or are you going to be you're going to have a good life? And part of it is like, and I think this is endemic to our society, which is kind of a nice thing about us, but like that we think happiness is like, well, there's got to be, we're cynical about it, which, is not to say that, oh, everyone should be happy, but it's like we have an attitude about happiness where we're like, if something seems happy, then it's more real to get to the unhappiness underneath it. Like we just it's sort of built into us to think that tragedy is reality because it makes sense. Life ends in death, and then comedy is fake. Happiness is fake. This is a popular opinion now among our little Nazi friends. They have this virtue signaling like phrase that they use if you're trying to help somebody out or just say a nice thing or a supportive thing or an anti-fascist thing. It's like, oh, you're virtue signaling, because the idea is if you're positive about something, if you're hopeful or optimistic or called to action, then there's a fake reason for it. We even like mythologize our cultures like artists and pioneers. We say things like, oh, so-and-so invented this and that, and then their biography will come out and it'll say, which means he must have really wanted his father's approval. Like and all that stuff. We love getting to the bottom of the stuff and making it like more like gritty and dirty and real. Right. Otherwise, we don't believe it's real. And so you sign a deal to do 70 episodes of your favorite show. It's like you've been waiting for a really long time to have job security. There's a little bit of a obstacle you hit there where you're like, okay, so I have everything I've ever wanted. Okay, so now I'm hitting like a vapor lock here. I'm like, well, then what's wrong? Like, and so Nazis are taking over America. That helps. Like. Seems this is fitting. This makes sense to me. Like God would do this to me, or I can always just find a lump in my wherever. Like that'll happen, or we can't control that. You just start dwelling on that stuff. You're like I swear every time my agents or lawyers are on the phone now, I used to get excited, and now I'm like, oh God, okay, here it is. I'm gonna find out that I hit a baby with my car or something. Like I don't know about it. They found it in the bumper.
I wish I had reps that cared that much.
Or they're just going to be like, oh, we're going over this contract that we're still working on for Rick and Morty. And did you know that the guy that you were talking to on the phone the whole time was escaped from an asylum? Like just some shoe will drop.
It was just me.
This is all fake. Did you have Heath in your phone as Mike
cool,
Lazo at Cartoon
It's
Network?
going to be a sweet contract. Don't worry.
But there's I'm reading this book like,
I'll be rich.
This guy, I don't know if
It's true that if I remove the threat, if you remove the threat, people will find another threat because it's part of our wiring.
I should give some credit where it's due in case anybody wanted to, it's like a short book. There's this thing called Authentic Happiness. Who's it by? This guy, Seligman, Martin Seligman. He's like a guy that was like, it's like there was a turning point in the psychology industry where I think it was this guy Seligman, I think, or maybe it was some other guy, but who cares? There was some guy that was like sort of like famous for standing up at a big seminar for all of the shrinks in the world. Like they would always have their big organizations, and this guy got up one year and said, "Look, We've gotten really good at diagnosing mental illness. We've gotten really good at we're doing great business. Like the world is crazier than ever.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean we're fucking up? Have we all bought into the myth that happiness is impossible? Like, are we also fucking miserable? And I was like, are we not supposed to be making people happy?
We have cured nothing.
We're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like if we were real, if being sad was a broken arm, we would be the worst medical industry in the entire history of culture. And people are like, "Boo, you suck!" And he's like, "See, that just proves my point." No, I'm kidding. I don't think anything that interesting ever happens in a psychology seminar. But he made waves, and I'm sure by waves I mean like a bunch of people tenting their fingers and pursing their lips and like scribbling marks down, hoping that he'll get insecure. But then that sparked this kind of wave of psychotherapy that was like, what if our goal was happiness? What if we just experimented with that? And I think that's where cognitive behavioral therapy comes in and stuff like, is this working for you? If not, changing all that crap. It's interesting. It already like took some weight off my shoulders when there's like the idea of like happiness is it's a privilege. It's like a good thing that you have it, but like if you have more of it than your immediate surroundings, it's not necessarily because something unfair is happening. You're lucky, sure. But you're not necessarily. It's not necessarily because you're rich, for instance. It's just all this science that goes into it. Who's happier, rich people or poor people? And it's like, nah, they even out. Right. Then there's like these weird differences. Like as much as I'm sure scientists didn't want this data to come in this way, the truth is people that have a religion, they're a little happier. They live a little longer, I think, and they're a little happier. It's data. You collect it. It's not enough of a difference that we should all run out and join a cult. There's like strange, what you'd think is almost arbitrary, like things, and then there's all these other factors that you would assume are like, oh, well, that would affect your happiness, and it's like, no, that's nothing. That's negligible. Yeah. And then there's, but I just like hearing it broken down to numbers because it demystifies it. Like I have this religious fear of being happy. I really think that if I'm over 50% happy, and I took this online thing. My happiness index is 3.12.
On the McDonald's survey, but on the real survey. Who did this survey? Do you know?
It's like something on the site that goes with this book. Okay. It was like they kind of, you can go there and you can you just fill in a couple of questions. Awesome. And they're kind of taking your data because they want like more data from. But it's like between 0 and 5, I'm like 3.12. It's like all the bar. It's like, how much happier are you than people that are your age? It's 50%. People in your income, 50%. People your gender, 50. I'm like right in the middle.
Now, okay, is the 3? I was going to ask you, is the 3 on the good leaning side or on the bad leaning side?
I assume the good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like Star Meter.
I don't think it's like.
Yeah,
but it's
it is fascinating because we're trying to figure out how much of it we should actually have in order to keep going. So I think people study their happiness and depression because they really want to relate how much can I accomplish.
Oh, and here's a really interesting thing about happiness. Like everybody that you ask, like, do you want to be happy? Obviously the answer is yes. Only what idiot would say no. But everybody that you ask, if I were to give you a magic wand that you could point at your head and make yourself happy, would you? Everyone starts arguing. Like everyone's like, well, no, not like that. It's really interesting. People don't just want to be happy. People want gratification. They want to earn their happiness. They want to feel accomplishment, which is where he makes all these scientific cases for like anthropologically, like why happiness, which has long since been dismissed as like just a byproduct of emotional thinking, that we need to feel anger and we need to feel fear in order to survive. You need to be like, oh shit, there's a leopard. Oh, fuck, like I'm mad at you for taking my banana, and that then happiness is just like, oh, no one's taking my banana right now and there's no lion. But it's like he makes the case that no, happiness is like the thing. It's like because it makes you. I wouldn't do a good job of selling it, but it's like you hear it and you go, shit, this could be scientific. You could be like Asperger's about being happy, like being like into it. You could turn being happy into Minecraft. You could like try to knock it out, like organize it and like do it right, and you wouldn't be cheating. You wouldn't be like destined to have an anvil fall on your head, and that like a mountain climber, like he talks about the difference between pleasure and gratification. So like a mountain climber is happy because they're climbing a mountain, but it's fucking hard. And then like there's a point where they're like gonna fall off the mountain, and they're not dumb. They wouldn't be like, I hope I fall off this mountain. They're like, I hope I don't, and I wish I
was there already.
I wish this rope was working better or whatever. Like they can have regrets about their situation and wish that it would, and hope that it like goes better. But that's different from being like, I wish I'd never climbed this mountain. I mean, they knew that climbing a mountain is a bunch of fucking hard work, and they chose to but they were pursuing this like happiness high that they knew would only come if they did all this shit that was hard. And there's a big difference between for instance, playing Minecraft, which isn't hard, it's like a comfort thing for me, or like eating a Twinkie, or just there's nothing wrong with like pleasuring yourself, but pleasure is just like we feel like it's fake. We don't feel gratified by it.
Your mountain analogy is the same sort of to money, where people work really, really hard to get a ton of money and then get a ton of things, big houses and a lot of grounds, and they're still not happy because it's the difference, right, between gratification and actually being satisfied.
Yeah, there's all this. It's an interesting read. I mean, I got the book on tape and I only listened to it. It was like a couple hours, and at the end I was like, "That's it? Fuck this book." But it's like the first half I thought was really interesting and throw a lot of science at you. It might if it helps demystify. I think smart people get in a funk about happiness, and then we are suspicious of it.
There is this thing that we take it for granted, the way we take for granted that rich kids don't have a hard time growing up with money. So we just sort of assume that if your parents had money and you have money, you know how to keep it, you know how to make it, you know how to earn it, you know the value of it. But it is not true.
Right.
There should be sort of a course.
And there's no question that people who, if you want to be unhappy and you want to hit all the points that make people scientifically less happy, one of the top things is live in an autocratic third world country that where like you have no freedom, and like there's less nutrition, and there's less wealth, and there's less and there's more those people are made unhappy by that environment. So it's like poverty does make you unhappy because you're being deprived of fucking shit that an ape would have in the wild. I mean, you're being deprived of like really like minimum levels of like comfort and emotional comfort. Like, do I belong in this family of apes? Are these people cool with me? If you're sleeping on a sidewalk, you're like more bummed out. I thought there was that documentary. It's like, yeah, it tops out like the way the guy says it is like, if you could afford this book, you're past the threshold where money affects your happiness.
Yes.
Like it only works to like $70,000 a year or something. Anyways, go fuck yourself, everybody. Yeah. And then he talks about how to be happy in relationships and have kids and stuff or whatever. Like I guess your kids, you're supposed to like just let them do shit and like not yell at them and stuff. But I would normally not believe it, like the way he talks about kids. But I said, like Cody's sister, everything I hear the guy saying, I'm like, oh, that's how your sister, that's how she's raising her kids. That's why they're like, and then the sibling rivalry thing, which we take for granted. We think that siblings are supposed to like resent each other, but it's not really it's a pervasive thing, but it's not a natural thing. It's not necessary.
What is it?
What? Oh man.
You don't have to like be mad at your brothers and sisters just because they're older or younger than you. Like it's not a thing that just happens like because you're babies.
Well, why does it happen?
It happens because
There's not enough milk.
Like, I hate to throw 90% of American families under the bus, but it happens
I'd love you
because
to.
it happens because of a trickle down of like a culture of like the parents expect it to happen. Like be nice to your sister. Like it's just that everything is like
Oh,
it's
right.
not based on
They're setting norms that it's normal for them to fight like that, and so they're
they
taking
create
those
share
cues.
and I don't know. It just
I
has
think-
everything to do with like the just nuances of like are you projecting onto your kids like they're gonna pick up from you
Right.
like oh I'm like a hockey team and my sister's like a different hockey team like you put it onto them on accident because you learned it that way.
I always felt like it's because we're close. We're all in the same car. We're all in the same house. We're gonna fight. It's just how it gets
Yeah,
down.
I would have thought so too. I mean, and you know, it's not like unhappiness is a myth.
Right.
It's not like it doesn't fall out of trees and stuff. But it is comforting to feel like, oh yeah, but happiness is like kind of. It's easier for some people than others, and then like some people have to work for it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's like a thing that you could just decide to be, kind of like that sounds very naive and privileged. That's the sheep
But I will say
trigger.
that that's not. It's not. Because there's this thing that says, like, you know, you can decide when you want to be happy, and people scoff at that because they're like, well, what if you're in a jail cell? What if you're whatever? What if you're an oppressed person? But the truth of the matter is so much great art and life and joy comes out of slums, to be honest. So it's obvious that happiness doesn't know geography. It doesn't know any sort of social class. Because if we can't get access to museums, somebody's going to spray paint something. If we can't get access to instruments, somebody's going to figure out a way to put two turntables together. People always figure out a way to bring joy, regardless of, you know, where or how bad it truly is.